Food security, on the other hand, is a measure of availability of food, an individual's ability to access it. It is also the state of having reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable and nutritious food. Today, some of us wake up to a full of meal while others wake up to nothing. Ang laban sa tagutom ay hindi lang dito sa ating bansa, but it is global crisis. Food security challenges remain large. Now that we understand what is food security is, let me share to you the main threats to food security that cause a lot of people to hunger. These main threats to food security are not just in a one particular place, but it is global crisis. Food price volatility is the extent to which food prices change over time. Volatility means the measure of the day-to-day percentage difference in the price of the commodity, or simply means unstable. So here are the factors that have impact on the food prices volatility. First, the natural disaster, then panic purchases, and last, the trade restrictions. So why? Because in natural disasters like landslide, wildfires, extreme temperature such as hot and cold, and even extreme precipitation and flooding can damage the taniman, gulayan, palaisdaan, at iba't iba pang pagkukunan natin na makakain. Kapag na-damage o naapektuhan ng mga ito, there will be a sudden increase in prices and even a sudden drop in the price, lalo na kapag rejected na ang produkto o low quality ang itsura. In panic purchases, like example, what happened way back last year, diba, sa alcohol and mga face sheet or face mask rather, diba, there is a high demand ng alcohol at face mask that time that causes a sudden increase in the prices. And lastly, the trade restriction or trade barrier. So why? The problems are higher prices for consumers kasi nga imported, lower number of imports, and dead weights loss incurred. Volatility is good for traders because it gives them opportunities, but for the consumers, it is bad. Energy and biofuels. So rising energy prices influence the food security, and it also causes food prices to increase rather than the reverse. So rising energy prices make biofuels more profitable rather than agricultural production more expensive. And it also changes in calorie availability, right? Price changes and changes in number of malnourished children. The changes in prices generally reflect variation in electricity demand, availability of generation sources, fuel costs, and power plant availability. So biofuel, on the other hand, is fuel that produced through contemporary process from biomass. Example, sugar cane that can provide high energy fuel for machines. Biofuels are bad for those feeding people and combating climate change. Example, the converting of corn to ethanol not only leads to clearing more of the Amazonian rainforest, but also would do a little to slow global warming and often make it worse. Number 3, population growth and demographic changes. So what causes a demographic changes? It includes, syempre, population growth rates, fertility and mortality rates, urbanization, pattern of migration, and differences in economic factors, responsible for the timing and speed of these drivers of demographic changes. Kasi the more na lumalaki ang population ng isang bansa, ay the more na ma-high demand tayo ng pagkain. Number 4, land and water constraints. So growing land constraints dahil sa papatuloy na paglaki ng population natin, the land resources become scarcer or short na talaga. Farmers need to farm more intensively, but the farmers and governments may not react quickly enough to develop technologies to farm their land more efficiency. So it resulting in land degradation or damaging or ruining the land. Severe water constraints with business as usual could cause some regions up to 6% of their GDP or gross domestic product spur migration and spark conflict. The combined effects of growing population, rising incomes, and expanding cities will see demand for water rising exponentially, while supply becomes more erratic and uncertain. Number 5, climate change. Climate change will push up food prices in the next 30 years. So food supply and food security will be severely threatened if little or no action is taken to address climate change and the food system vulnerability to climate change. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change or IPCC, the extent of climate change impacts on individuals' region will vary over time, and different social and environmental systems will have varied abilities to mitigate or adapt to change. Negative effects of climate change include the continued rise of the global temperatures, changes in precipitation patterns, an increased frequency of droughts and heat waves, sea level rise, melting of sea ice, and a higher risk of more intense natural disasters. Lahat naman ng problema may solusyon, so we should address those threats to food security to help everyone to lessen the hunger. And a development agenda with greater support for food security is needed.